In a modern music world where most well-known artists seem to have the same overall agendas of releasing an album, doing a tour, possibly doing their own festivals, and some even having their own clothing brand or collaborating with already existing ones, Tyler the Creator always stands out so far from the others around him. Between completely reinventing himself as an artist and having one of the best 3 album runs in modern music, to being a massive influence on modern fashion, as well as raising the bar of concert set designs and overall just innovating the entire sound of modern hip hop while keeping the foundation there when it suits best, he's truly one of the greatest artists, and if not the greatest artist of the modern generation. However, it definitely took time and many ups and downs for him to get to this point. From releasing his debut solo mixtape Bastard in 2009 online to critical acclaim, to releasing Call Me If You Get Lost in 2021, which went #1 on the Billboard charts and won him his second Grammy Award for Best Rap Album. It's needless to say that Tyler has had a wide array of music and albums, all with their own unique sounds and themes. And as someone who's personally been a fan of Tyler for a while now, I wanted to make a video going through each album, starting from Goblin and ending at Call Me If You Get Lost, and ranking them based on my personal enjoyment from worst to best. Again, my personal enjoyment. So if you don't agree with a ranking in here, please don't come at my throat, but feel free to leave your take on whatever you agree or disagree with down below in the comments. Also, my channel has been blowing up a lot recently, so thank you guys if you are a returning subscriber. Thank you so much for tuning in. I fucking appreciate the support so much. And if you're new here, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe. I pretty much upload daily reaction videos and I'm gonna start doing project videos like this more often. So absolutely love to do stuff like this, love having fun with it and just talking about hip hop with you guys. But without further ado, let's jump right into it.
Swag. Is that your window?
Kicking us off at my personal least favorite album, we have Goblin. And even though this is at the bottom of the list, some of my honestly personal favorite Tyler tracks do come from this album. Released in 2011, Goblin was Tyler's debut studio album and basically served as a direct sequel to Bastard from 2 years prior. It continued on much of the horrorcore sound that Tyler was already working with at the time and delved much more into the edgy lyrics and kind of disturbing subject matter that was found on Bastard. It was also made during the peak of Odd Future, Tyler's collective label, who at the time had many of its artists featured on this album. Now, why is this my least favorite album from Tyler? Well, it honestly shouldn't be too much of a shock. When you ask the majority of the people what their least favorite album from is, it always tends to be this one. Compared to the majority of Tyler's work, a lot of the production sounds dated, rough, and honestly at some points just pretty bad. And while it's not personally a big deal for me, some may have their own feelings about the lyrics and the subject matter of the album. But while the things that I just mentioned are typically negative, at least to most people, and even to me at some points, if I'm looking to listen to a project that has that late 2000s, early 2010s online blog era aesthetic to it, I usually will end up coming to this album at least once within that listening session. And a lot of the songs like She, Yonkers, Troncat, and Nightmare, I find myself revisiting often because of that older nostalgia sound that they have to them. And while this is my least favorite overall album from him, the album does still kind of have a bit of a cult classic status amongst the longtime Tyler fans. But again, even though it's not my personal favorite album, I do still consider it to be overall okay. As far as just general album quality goes, it's a fine enough record that if you're gonna look at the, the mixtape era, like I was saying earlier, this is one of the ones that you definitely have to bring up because it just is one of those albums that marked a milestone in online, releasing of music, in that whole online blog era of hip-hop. And especially for Odd Future, this was a monumental release. This was pretty much their biggest release at the time, putting them well more on the map, especially with Yonkers blowing up like it did. So again, while this is not my favorite album by a definite long shot, it still definitely deserves some credit in at least the aspect that this one really did get the ball rolling. And even if Tyler himself has his own gripes with the content of it, it's just one of those things that no matter what, you have to pay respect and homage to because it really did set the whole thing off for him. And coming in at number 5, we have Cherry Bomb. And while this might be a controversial take, I do believe that Cherry Bomb does deserve a lot more recognition than it's given. While it still contains some of the older Tyler traits like the edgy lyrics, this album is one of the first real examples of Tyler's growing developments as an artist. However, the main issue with me personally with this album is its super messy mix of content. With pretty much every other album, even including Goblin, Tyler has a fairly consistent sound across the board, but Cherry Bomb is definitely the exception. While the first half of the album features some very heavy distortion throughout its production, along with the more edgy lyrics found on earlier work from him, the second half of the album more feels like I'm hearing a Flower Boy demos type of album. Tracks like Two Seater, Fucking Young / Perfect, Smuckers, Okaga, California, all feature a sound that teases much of what would come from Tyler in the near to later years, while songs like Buffalo, Pilot, Cherry Bomb, they all sound like the last evolution of a Odd Future era Tyler. And this album is in such a weird place for me, just because there are a decent handful of tracks on this record that I do actually enjoy, but I just don't find myself returning to this album that much. Another very interesting thing with this album is the fact that this is the first album where Tyler kind of stepped out of his bubble with working only with Odd Future artists, or at least mostly exclusively with them. But Cherry Bomb has a stacked feature list of artists, including from Odd Future and from other parts of rap. People like Schoolboy Q, Sid, Kali Uchis, Charlie Wilson, Lil Wayne, Kanye West, and Pharrell Williams, just to name a few of them, are all featured on the record and contribute with some amazing guest vocals and overall just great contributions to the music. The album also marked the beginning of Tyler working with Kali Uchis, who would go on to do more collaborations with Tyler, with the most notable one being obviously See You Again, becoming Tyler's most streamed song on Spotify at around 1.5 billion streams at the time of making this video. Nonetheless, no matter how you feel about Cherry Bomb, there's absolutely no denying it is a milestone in Tyler's career, where he began to take things in a completely different approach and grow both as an artist and, no pun intended, as a creator.
Hey dad, it's me,
Coming in at number 4, we have Wolf. And Wolf is, in my opinion, the peak of Odd Future era Tyler. For a long time, this was actually my favorite Tyler album. Between it featuring at the time some of Tyler's best rapping and production, I had this album on loop pretty much endlessly. Wolf features some of my personal favorite features from Odd Future's members as well. Haji has an incredible rapping section on Jamba, Frank Ocean has great features on both Slater and Beamer, Damo Genesis and Earl Sweatshirt are both great on Rusty, and the amazing Erykah Badu on Tree Home 95 also was wonderful. This album also features some of my favorite production from Tyler. Answer is a perfect example of this, and is still one of my favorite all-time tracks from Tyler to this day. The slower, more serious sound of the instruments on that song are so goddamn beautiful, and the subject matter of it all ties the song together to make an overall just amazing track. I Fucking Hate You is also another great example. The different breaks and switch-ups in the beat is absolutely fucking amazing, and it's a song that somehow throughout the entire track feels like it's pulling you up and down through an emotional roller coaster, while also telling a super vivid story back to it. And the last track that I really want to highlight from this is Colossus. Colossus almost feels like it's Tyler's rendition of Stan by Eminem. The story of Tyler just trying to enjoy a day at Six Flags when a bunch of these fans come storming him for pictures and autographs and all the other shit, and he's just being told all of these insane things by a fan. It's a song that, again, has a super vivid story being told with it, but it also has a beat that over time grows and eventually builds up to this epic climax at the end of the song and then lets it quickly cool back off for the just final let go. Also, as an honorable mention, Tamale is also an extremely fun song. I loved that live, it was super fucking awesome. Now, after I've said all of these good things about Wolf, including at one point that it was my favorite Tyler album, how was it dropped all the way to number 4? Well, honestly, the only reason that I could think of is just he's made better music than this album now. And while there are still definite standouts like the ones that I just listed, a good chunk of this album just feels subpar compared to the rest of his work. I can't even really put into words the exact tracks that feel subpar, but most times when I try to sit down and listen to this album, there will eventually be a track that comes along that makes me think of another song on another album that I just go listen to anyways. And it's honestly just that simple. Wolf is still, in my opinion, a pretty good album overall, and if Tyler had never taken the directional change that he did with his style, this would probably still be my favorite album of his. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what way you go, I just tend to enjoy some of his later work more. Coming in at number 3, we have Call Me If You Get Lost. And after 4 years of Tyler really just changing his style and sound, people were highly anticipating to see where he would go next, and honestly, I don't think that there was any better direction for him to go then other than Call Me If You Get Lost. Between mixing elements of indie rock with hip-hop on Flower Boy and completely making his own versatile sound with Igor, going back to just trying to be the best rapper felt kind of like the perfect return. I remember before this album came out kind of wondering in what new weird tone he would try to go for, but after just hearing Sir Baudelaire and it clicking with me that this was going to be a rap project at heart, I was super fucking happy. And while the album isn't just exclusively Tyler rapping, it is damn sure the majority of it and kind of just the main focus, and overall just shows how much Tyler has grown since something like Cherry Bomb or Flower Boy as far as his technical capability goes within rapping. Tracks like Corso, Lumberjack, Hot Wind Blows, Massa all feature some of Tyler's best rapping to date, but even though the album was much more heavily hip-hop oriented, it still features songs like What's Your Name and Sweet/I Thought You Wanted to Dance, both of which have amazing vocals from both Tyler and their features, including a shockingly beautiful verse from NBA Youngboy. Speaking of features, Call Me If You Get Lost had another fairly stacked feature list. DJ Drama did his well-known Gangsta Grillz mixtape style of lines across the entire record, while others like 42 Doug, Ty Dolla $ign, Lil Wayne, Lil Uzi Vert, Brent Faiyaz, Daisy World, and Pharrell Williams, just to name a few, provided great verses and hooks across the record respectively. It also introduced the world to Tizo Touchdown, who has honestly quickly become one of the biggest rising artists in the current music landscape. This album was also the only other album besides Goblin to get a deluxe edition from Tyler. For the 1-year anniversary of the album, Tyler released The Estate Sale, an album that featured the original track list, along with 8 other tracks, or 7 if you're not counting the intro. But the new edition of tracks also brought other artists like Vince Staples, A$AP Rocky, and YG to the already stacked feature list of this album. And a majority of the songs on the deluxe are actually pretty amazing as well, considering most modern day hip hop deluxes are just pretty much filler tracks that just happen to be recorded within the same session as the album that it was made for, but never got the all clear to go on the record. Stuntman with Vince Staples is a fun step away from the more serious sound of the end of Call Me If You Get Lost, and honestly, just a different kind of sound than from what we usually hear Tyler really messing with. What a Day and Heaven to Me are both amazing, just strictly rap songs from Tyler that, again, show Tyler's strength and growth as a rapper over the years over these extremely smooth, nice, chill, laid-back hip-hop beats. Wharf Talk was a more Igor-sounding track that brings an amazing energy and sound to the table. The Igor tone singing from Tyler is nice to hear for a switch-up after hearing him rap for quite a bit of time, along with a long-awaited return to a collab with Rocky, who flows perfectly over this beat, even if his verse is quite short, honestly. Dogtooth is another great banger of a track that shows Tyler's technical ability again while just having fun. And the last track, Sorry Not Sorry. God damn, man. When this song came out as a single before releasing with the deluxe, I listened to the song over and over again on YouTube since it hadn't went to streaming, and I think I can confidently say, as far as strictly rapping goes, Sorry Not Sorry is my favorite Tyler track to date. The song features Tyler apologizing to all of those that he feels he's wronged, while also just stating his piece on other people who thinks that he owes them, people trying to dig into his personal life, and others who just tend to judge him. Seriously, this is the perfect song from Tyler. Now, finally, why is it at number 3 on this list? Well, at this point, it's probably a good thing to mention that pretty much everything from 3 and up I tend to absolutely love. I think they're all perfect albums in their own unique ways and show that Tyler has mastered his craft in all of these different sounds in different ways that he can manipulate the sound to basically show that he's one of the greatest artists of the generation. While Call Me If You Get Lost is still an insanely good album, I feel that for some unknown reason I honestly just tend to gravitate more towards Flower Boy and Igor. Again, I really do think this album is amazing, and the era of Tyler that came from this is, in my opinion, his best. But I feel that both Flower Boy and Igor flow together just a little bit better as full albums than this one does, but still, Call Me If You Get Lost is an absolutely amazing album, and you should not sleep on this. Now, here's where I think me and some of the viewers may disagree, but at number 2, I have Igor. Igor was honestly kind of the final piece of the puzzle for the remaking of Tyler as an artist. If Cherry Bomb was the first hint at Tyler wanting to branch out and try new things and kind of expand his, lane as an artist, Igor is the most forth-telling, bold, and fucking insane change that he could have possibly made. Winning him his first Grammy Award for Best Rap Album, Igor takes the listener through a wild and beautiful 12-track breakup type album that honestly can't be described as anything less than just insane. From track 1 to track 12, this album is a non-stop, perfect flow of production and lyrics that come together to form an experience that honestly no other record to this day can. I remember first hearing this album and just sitting in confusion at the fact that the same dude who can make songs like Yonkers, Tamale, and Bastard could make this record. With, in my opinion, Tyler's best production to date, as well as Tyler's best overall songwriting to date, Igor is truly the best overall package from Tyler. This album again features an insane run yet condensed amount of features from the likes of Lil Uzi, Playboi Carti, Kanye West, Jesse Wilson, CeeLo Green, and of course Pharrell Williams returning, and everyone does their part perfectly to help create this perfect picture that Tyler had in his head when contributing to the music. The album also features some of my just personal favorite Tyler moments as far as his music goes. The synths across the entire record are good enough to make a grown man fucking cry. Songs like Earthquake and I Think both have these incredible sounds to them that are felt throughout the entire album, with I Think specifically having an insanely just nice catchy bounce to it that the drums just perfectly add to. New Magic Wand is seriously Tyler's magnum opus as far as making a song that is so unique that I really don't think anybody else could create except for Tyler. Thank You has one of the most beautiful instrumentals that I've ever heard in a song, and Are We Still Friends is an amazing outro to this already incredible body of work. And even though most of the album doesn't contain much rapping, some of the rapping on here meshes so goddamn well with the unique Igor sound that it creates some more of my personal favorite Tyler songs. A Boy Is a Gun is pretty much the perfect example of that. Tyler sampling Bound by Ponderosa Twins Plus One is insanely good, and another fresh modern take of the song alongside Kanye's Bound 2. What's Good is also, in my opinion, an insanely underrated song on this album. The beat is pretty perfect for the tone that Tyler goes for here, and the switch up is insane. I am telling you, if he had played that song at the Call Me If You Get Lost tour, I would have sent someone to the fucking hospital that night in the mosh pit. Such an amazing track. Now again, after I've just said all of these things, praising this album, calling it perfect in all these different ways, and as if it's not Tyler's best work, why is this here at number 2 instead of 1? Overall, I just tend to think that I have less of a relation to this album as far as highlights of my life where this record was involved. Don't get me wrong, this record has definitely been involved in some of the greatest moments of my life. Summer days listening to this album are some of the greatest experiences that I have to cherish, and just listening to this album on a nice weather day really lifts your spirit in a different way that I don't think many other albums do. But this album is still so closely held to my heart as basically Tyler's magnum opus as far as creating his own unique style. But there is still just one more album that I think does go above Igor for me.
Who that boy? Who him is? Him that nigga, I swear.
Fucking Flower Boy. Where do I even start with this album? I owe so much of the person that I am today, Tyler, for making this record. As insane as that sounds, this album honestly really did change my life. It came out at a time for me when music was pretty much everything. I was discovering new music every day on websites like YouTube, DatPiff, SoundCloud, etc. But something about Flower Boy really stuck with me. This album is another record that, in my opinion, is flawless and perfect in every way. Between the switch up in Tyler as a person to the switch up in him as an artist, this album feels like the real click moment for Tyler becoming who he is today. The album also features some of Tyler's best rapping across his entire discography, as well as some of the best production from him, as just like Call Me If You Get Lost and Igor had. Forward sets the tone for this album so perfectly and features Tyler going crazy with bars, and just overall really was the perfect pick for the intro track on this. It also features Rex Orange County, who does a fantastic job on the track, showing off his skills on his basically breakthrough to the mass. Speaking of, once again, the features on this album are absolutely stacked, with a list like Rex Orange County, Frank Ocean, Kali Uchis, A$AP Rocky, Jaden Smith, Estelle, Anna of the North, Steve Lacy, and Lil Wayne. This album has some fantastic features from all of these different artists, including some of my favorite moments from them overall. Lil Wayne is someone that always comes through with fantastic verses on Tyler albums, and this is no exception. Even though it's a quite short little track, Droppin' Seeds is a nice break to Wayne just to hear him go in over Tyler's instrumental. Kali Uchis again shines on this album on See You Again with one of the most well-known features of any song probably in the 2010s. Overall, there's just so many moments on this album that feel like both Tyler and the people he's working with are just here to make music that they want to have fun with, and they're 100% comfortable with putting that out there into the world. Flower Boy released at such a unique time in my life. I was a teenager who was really still discovering my own taste with both just things in life, but also with music. And Flower Boy really opened me up not only to more experimental hip-hop, but also introduced me to so many new artists just outside of hip-hop. And I seriously do believe that if I hadn't heard Flower Boy, I would not be as open to music outside of hip-hop as I am today. I have so many fond memories of hanging out with friends and having fun or going for walks, with this album always being the soundtrack to those moments. And this album is truly, as Tyler himself described it, my November. Because of how much Flower Boy has affected my own life, it has basically cemented itself into my top 10 favorite albums of all time, and will always hold a very special place in my heart as Tyler's best album. Songs like Boredom and Glitter are perfect examples of the absolute shine through of Tyler the Creator on this album, as well as different stuff like Who Dat Boy with A$AP Rocky, which is probably still the hardest song from Tyler to this day. And basically this whole era of Tyler kind of formed the A$AP Rocky, Tyler the Creator kind of partnership that we know today, and I absolutely love them as a collaborational effort. This album will forever be held in my heart as probably Tyler's best album. And that's gonna do it for this video. I do appreciate you guys tuning in. Feel free to hit that like button if you guys did enjoy the video, and if you guys did, also be sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think about Flower Boy or any of these other albums. Let me know what your favorite album is and why you think that it might be better than, you know, something that I have placed here, and just kind of leave your own little recommendation down below on what you think the best Tyler album is. And again, if you are new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I have been grinding recently. We've been kind of blowing up on YouTube, so I appreciate the support so fucking much. Seriously, it means the absolute world that people are stopping to even give me a single look, let alone actually sit here and watch the content. It's insane, and I really appreciate it so much. You guys are the greatest. I love all of you, and thank you guys so much for the love and support. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. My name is Vecman, and peace out.